Hey guys, this is Frenzy, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Leenock's ZvZ Baneling bust. He used this to defeat Life in the GSL last season, not the current season, and he used it in the DreamHack that he won, DreamHack Stockholm, I believe. And that's the replay that we're in right now. Him versus Liquid Rat. It's an early group stage, so I'm just going to speed it up a little bit, and I'll talk about the build as we're going. It's going to open up with a 15 hatch, so that's the basic risk you're going to take doing this build. You can line it up using a 15 pool, 15 gas, or 15 hatch, 15 gas type of opening, but it's not going to line up nearly as well as Leenock's build here. And it's actually not like the standard way you would think this little 2-base Baneling must goes. Leenock actually does a lot of cool things for him to get out all of the necessary tech and buildings to be able to do this bust as early as possible, and it's the reason why it's so powerful. I've heard a lot of people like Cats even, and I think Vibe, they both have played him on the Korean server, and they're just not anywhere close to actually stopping this build. So it's actually really good. A lot of it comes down obviously to the micro at the front, but so I do want to talk about this a little bit. So he went 15 hatchery. He went 16 gas. He made the gas geyser when he was at 150 minerals. That's really the only thing that I can see it correlates to, and then a 16 pool afterwards. And he's going to throw the guys right in gas. And this all looks very, very standard, right? You just open up with a gas pool, and it all looks extremely standard at this point. But you'll notice when we get that first Overlord out, which will unlock the 28 supply when this hatchery finishes and this Overlord pops, he actually supply blocks himself on purpose. I've watched plenty of these games. This is the only game I'm going to go over of Leenock doing it himself, so that you guys can see it. But you'll notice he's not going to build this Overlord on 25 like everybody else does. So just watch that production tab and watch this supply counter here. He starts his speed. He keeps guys and gases, and you'll notice when he gets this 50 gas is right around when he hits 28 out of 28 supply. He's going to get this 50 gas for the Baneling nest, and this is going to allow him to build this Baneling nest right with this drone. And that's going to time out really, really nicely, as you'll notice. Then he's going to go in and he's going to make this Overlord. And now I want to select both of the hatcheries here, and I want you guys to watch how much larva he gets out of these two hatcheries right before this Overlord pops. Okay, because this is an unstandard timing. He's supply blocked, but he's still getting larva. He's only at 1 larva, so he's not really larva blocked, I guess, when both hatcheries are at 3. And then that Overlord pops, and what he's going to do is he's going to rally both of these drones back into his main base, and he's going to have 2 drones from each base here. And then as soon as this happens, I want to pause for a second, because you'll notice he took these drones that were popping, and he put one of them as the second gas geyser, and the other one I believe will start mining here. Actually no, I think he's perfectly fine. But basically he's going to be doing a Baneling bust off of 12 harvesters on minerals here, 12 harvesters on minerals here, and 2 gas geysers. This gas geyser goes down as soon as he starts his second Overlord at 32 supply. And he's at 31 right now because he made this gas geyser. And then he's going to continue to drone. He's going to drone with this larva here. This injection right here is going to go into this natural base. And that's actually going to just go to 12 right there. 4 larva from your inject will go and start mining here. That'll be 12 on minerals. As you'll see, he has 15, 3 into this gas geyser. That's going to be 12, okay? And then this injection here, he's going to spend all of his money on lings. So, in a second here, he's supply blocked right now. He's got 2 Overlords in production. It's going to be like a 32 Overlord, like I said, and then take your gas. And then he'll add in another Overlord at 36, I believe he adds it in. But that Overlord's not nearly as important, right? You already have all of your buildings out. So you just need to make sure you don't get supply blocked. And also another cool thing he does is he does get these 2 lings very early. The reason why he gets these lings have a dual purpose, basically. These are going to be his first 2 Banelings. What these 2 Banelings are going to do is protect these lings while they're morphing. He also gets those 2 lings early enough to go behind the minerals and see that his opponent is actually producing drones. Because if he's not producing drones, there's a speedling all incoming, and he's going to have to react a little bit before this attack will actually start to do its damage, basically. So these 2 Banelings are basically here to protect these Banelings in case there's a big flood of lings. And you can slow it down here, but basically Rat is just going to be caught playing greedy. he's taking his lair, and he's just never going to be able to have enough to be able to defend this. So that's the basic build order. It's a little bit complicated, and I'll go over it in a couple more games that I actually play. I don't perform it like nearly as well as he does, but I still perform it like decently well, where I'm actually getting a winning win rate, I guess, in the ZvZ matchup right now, just using this build. So as you can see, Rhett's like really dead right here. There's just no way that he's going to be able to come back from this. And he's going to just tap out right there. Okay. So let's go into another game of me trying to do this build. And I've been doing it for a couple seasons. I have the build order down. It's a little bit weird because it's not like the standard way that you would normally play. I have a... There we go. And we'll do number 1. So this is basically the same basic principle that Leenock did. It's going to go pretty straightforward through this game. So this is me. Let's turn on the production tab. I think I mess up sometimes on the drone counts. Sometimes I'll have like 13 or 14 mining minerals instead, and it's not like as optimal, but it still works out. Obviously there's a lot of games where I do it perfectly as well. At least the build order part. My control can still be better. And I do want to talk about how you should be controlling this as well a little bit further in the video. But right now I just want to watch. I can kind of talk about that right now. Is basically your first priority is his banelings. You don't want his banelings getting down his ramp. So you always want to split up your banelings in twos and make sure to focus his pairs of banelings that are trying to come out and intercept you. And then after that you want to take out down his spine crawler, and if you're lucky, you'll have 2 to 4 banelings left over after you kill off all of his banelings and all of his spine crawlers. And then your lings do the damage to his drone line. Your banelings only zone out his banelings. So that's the whole, or his lings and his banelings basically. And you use your lings to do the drone damage and all of that sort of thing. You don't want to just like rally your banelings into his drone line. Although that can still sometimes get you wins, it's not the most optimal way to play. And also queens are lings target. You don't want to blow your banelings up on that. So I didn't really go over this, and I want to go back just a second so we can go over the build itself. So you can see I threw down my gas at 150 minerals, and I threw down my 16 pool afterwards, and I'm just droning up. So this all looks very standard at this point. And then you're going to see coming up in here, I'm going to supply block myself. I'm getting my speed up, and I'll be supply blocking at 28. Now as you can see, already, I actually have 27. I have my 50 gas, and I don't have 100 minerals. There's a reasoning for this. Leenock always has this extra 30 to 40 minerals, and that's because of his drone micro early on. If you can pair up your drones early on the close mineral patches, you're actually going to have that little extra bit of money. This isn't too big of a deal. You can delay your first gas geyser to like 170 when you're at 170 minerals, if you're not very good at actually drone pairing up all of your drones. Or you can just do it like me, and I believe I might even throw this down at 27 supply. I do this in a lot of games because I don't quite have the drone micro that the top level players do, and that's just how important drone micro actually is in the early game. So the difference here, as I said in the previous game, that he rallied both of these drones back in. It's because he used one of the drones that was transferring. He used it to build his Baneling nest, whereas I usually take it out of my main and build my Baneling nest. So that's pretty important. So now I'm at 32 supply. This is the point where you just get unsupply blocked right here. You finally get unsupply blocked. You have 2 larvae at both of your bases. You rally these 2 back into your main. You rally these 2 back into your natural. You want to have 15 drones here after you build the gas, so that you can put 3 in the gas and still have 12. And then I have my Overlord in production. Right after this is going to be this gas geyser. Come on, take this gas geyser. Do it. There we go. Okay. So I decided to take one up from here because I'm a little light on drones here. I'm actually going to be oversaturated, like over 12 here, but under 12 here, which isn't like a super big deal, but it's a big enough deal where you should definitely try to get 12 and 12. It'll just be a slightly better income. So as you can see, I have like 15 here, and I'm going to have 11 here, so I'm a little overdroned. And I do this in a lot of my games, but it's still not like the biggest deal in the world. Alright, so I also believe I skipped the first two lings. I do that a lot too, so that I'm just going to morph them maybe back a little bit farther than Leenock would, because he'd have those two Banelings to zone things out. And technically, if he had lings right now, I don't even really know what this guy's doing. It looks like he's like going gasless into like a lot of queens and spine crawlers. Yeah, this is just not going to work. I mean, you catch these sorts of things a lot of the time. I guess he's trying to go straight into roaches, and I guess I hit just a really good timing. And as you can see here, I do think I blow up a couple on the Banelings, or on his drones. That's a mistake. I shouldn't do that. I think I'm going to blow up a couple more over here as well, because they bunch all up. But as you can see, I mean, the game's basically over, and he's just going to tap out here. Yeah, in general, you should want to just zone out his Banelings and his lings using your own Banelings, and use your lings to do all of the damage. That's the easiest way to actually get wins. So we'll jump into another game. This is a game where the person could have defended, and like this isn't just going to win every one of your games, right? You're going to lose some of your games if people are either defended well or you miss micro. I believe I miss micro, and he defends well in this game. It's up against a Grandmaster Zerg, so obviously, you know, I might not be quite at that level yet. I'm able to take games off of low Grandmasters, but you know, I might not be like actually at that level to be able to sustain Grandmaster. So this guy out micros me, I believe, a bit. So we're just kind of watching. I believe this was right after the patch with the spores, so people weren't really you know, settled quite then. I've been doing this for quite a while, since basically DreamHack replays were released, and I decided it was time to do a guide on it. So as you can see, again, I take my gas, get my pool down, 16 on both, hatch first, all that sort of thing. It's basically a 16, 16, 16 with your gas at about 150 minerals. You can go a little bit over it if you're not too good at drone micro early on. I'd say 170 is probably pretty good. So I am making my pair of lings this time, but I won't send them across the map because I'm going to see his lings are a little bit earlier. I don't want to lose a drone or anything. But as you can see, I did supply block myself, and my overlord's coming now, and there's the Baneling nest. So when this overlord pops, I should be morphing these into drones. I don't know why I'm not, but little mistakes here and there. There they are. Rally back into this. My overlord in production. I actually have 2 overlords in production. And my gas. So as you can see, I'm pretty good here. You want 15, I have 16. That's fine. And I should actually already have wings out on the map, I'm not sure. I guess there's 10 in production right now. Because right after that first inject, you do want to start making wings. As I said before, your first injects, your main hatchery is going to go all into wings, and your natural hatchery is going to go all into drones. You want to make the drones first, obviously. So I do have these Banelings that are going to help me. Actually, these are really far back. Like, this is a pretty big mistake. You don't want to morph this far back, especially if you already have those 2 Banelings up. I think I'm a little bit afraid of an Overlord being here, and I don't want him to see it. But I mean, he's going to know anyway. If your lings aren't just coming straight to his base, he's going to know that there's Banelings coming. So that was also like a little bit of a mistake, and why this game doesn't go quite in my favor. However, he does misread the situation, and he drones during a critical time that he shouldn't be droning. So I'll slow it down for this. But as you can see, he has 2 spine crawlers. Like, this is a pretty decent defense. And I believe I'm going to let his Baneling slip by, maybe? I'm not sure exactly how this works. He like gets lings down here, and it's kind of annoying. And like, this isn't actually all that bad for me. He does have that secondary spine crawler, so that makes things a little bit more hard. I'm going to have my second, like, this is also a little bit of a mistake. I should already have these morphing. That's just like APM. Like, this is a very high APM style, like, if you want to do it perfectly. You definitely want to hit your injects as best as you can. That's like the most critical thing, and then just keep morphing Banelings and keep attacking. And you can do this wave after wave for pretty much the whole game until like mutas or roaches come out, and then you really do need to start transitioning. You also can do one wave, drone up behind it, throw down a spine crawler, and defend his counterattack. And do as much damage as you can. I generally like to do at least 2 waves though. So yeah, like, that's not the best situation for me, but he did drone during this time. I believe I missed that, but he doesn't have any units, as you can see, so he's just kind of dead. He didn't defend badly, and he might have been able to actually defend it like fully. But yeah. So as we can see, like, he just didn't have anything left to defend. 10 Zerglings in production isn't going to be able to defend the 42 Zerglings I have out on the map. And yeah, I have some money here, but I'm able to produce, 20 more lings. So we'll go into another game. This will be the final one, I believe. So yeah, so this is a game where I actually have to transition, and it kind of evens out. But I should have won a little bit more decisively than I did. But we'll see how this works. So we have to find myself, and I'll pay more attention to the actual build so everybody can get it down at this game. So it's going to start off with a 15, I believe a 16 hatch. No. The 14th drone actually can rally out. I don't know if I do it this game, but Leenock does that quite a bit. But yeah, there's my 14th drone, and it just goes straight down to the natural hatchery, and it'll get there when you have 300 minerals for a 15 hatch. You drone up twice for a 16 gas, which will come at 150 minerals. So that was a little bit early. So we'll actually see me have a little bit too much gas. This might be one of those games where I make a 27 Baneling nest instead of 28. But yeah, and then you'll be making a 17 Overlord. This guy was actually starting to lag out at the beginning of the game, but he stabilized, so that's good. Alright, so there's my Overlord. We'll be getting 2 queens, and then just drone, drone, drone. You usually want, because of that early gas, usually it's a 24 supply speed. I actually pull one out of gas. That's actually pretty interesting. I noticed that I had too much gas right there, so I pulled one out so that I would be able to line this up a bit better. That's something you also can do if you realize that you have a little bit too much gas. And when you've done this build a lot, you'll actually realize that. So this must be one of the later games that I actually was using this. Probably sometime in this season. Alright, so these 2 drones rally back. These 2 drones, another Overlord, secondary gas right after that Overlord. That Overlord is on 32 again. And on your first inject, these will all be drones, rally back into the natural. These will all be lings. See, Zerglings, 8 Zerglings in production. These 2 lings should be morphed into Banelings. Again, I think I probably morphed these a little bit too far back. These first Banelings are fine. If you have the 2 lings out on the map, these Banelings can actually be morphed farther back, but this a little bit too far back. I'd like them here. But again, you don't want to do it right under an Overlord either. So he tries to slip some lings by. That's something that you can do to try to delay these type of attacks. He tried to slip lings by so that my lings would follow his. But as you can see, all my Banelings are bunched up, so I'm going to have to split these up a little bit. And some decent splitting. Not the best micro in the world, but not bad either. And that was perfect for me. So this is pretty good. And as you can see, I'm just going to use these Banelings to zone the best I can. And there we go. I had to use them there because his lings bunched up. If his lings bunch up like that, and now I'm going to do a ton of damage. And surprisingly, this game doesn't actually just end right here, even though it should. He does have these 2 Banelings morphing, which is good for him. He has a bunch of lings out, so he is going to stabilize right here. But I do have another wave. Again, these Banelings too far back. But like I said, this is a high APM style. If I have lings back here, I don't really want to wait for them to be here because I want to be injecting. I want to be trying to slip lings in and detonate his Banelings. There's a lot of different things that you need to be doing. So the Banelings are morphed a little bit far back. Not the biggest deal in the world. And then you want to just split a couple of these off. So yeah, I'm just trying to split up a little bit. And again, he doesn't have Banelings, and I do have Banelings, so I'm going to do a bunch more damage. If I do... So I do target these down. That's a little bit of a mistake. I probably thought this game was over at this point. Which it should be. As you can see, the Harvester counts are, pretty high in my favor. That was a little bit of a mistake by me. And again, a bunch more lings. I don't believe I've started the transition quite yet. But eventually, when you see your opponent isn't going to give up and just isn't dying, you don't want to just keep on doing this. You do want to get a little bit farther ahead with your advantage. So, he's kind of stabilizing here. I'm still making some, but there's my transition coming. So from here on out, it's pretty much just going to be drones. The only problem is I think I detonate badly or something along those lines, and I do allow him to have the opportunity of a counterattack. So along with this, if you have a bunch of money like I do, throwing down one spine isn't a bad idea. Like, yeah, I'm trying to take this out. I probably could have focus fired it, but like probably not like the biggest deal in the world. I don't want to lose all of my wings. Yeah, that was actually just terrible for me. That's what allows him, and then this is a really bad fight as well. I should have retreated with those wings. So that was probably one of the worst situations you can run into, is I lost about 6 to 8 Banelings for 2 Banelings. So now he's got the opportunity to counterattack me. And if we look at the drone counts, like, this shouldn't even be a close game, 35 to 16. I have a ton of roaches in production. However, he does have a lot of lings. So lings are decent against roaches at this stage in the game, when they're low counts like this. So I have my lair in production. I'm still trying to get some drones out. Actually, that's him. I'm trying to defend this because I realize I'm in kind of a weird spot right now. I have a huge drone advantage. That's pretty easy to see with how many I've killed. So he's droning back up behind this attack. That's exactly what he wants to be doing right now. And just doing like this kind of light pressure. He already made the unit, so he might as well do it. And as we can see, like, I'm pretty surrounded. I believe I do try to target down these. As you can see, I did click on those and I blew up one. But right now, like, that's pretty bad. And I lost a bunch of drones there. I could have done a little bit better splitting. Nonetheless, if we look at the game, he's on hatch tech. He does have a third base. And if we look at the drone counts, I have 5 in production. And he is up just slightly, right? He's going to be up a little bit, but I have, 5 in production, and I have some money that I'm going to end up spending. There's 12 more drones in production. So after those get out, we're going to be similar on economy. I am ahead in tech, and he's got that extra base. So that's his kind of edge, and I have an edge in economy. Or not economy, in tech. I have my lair done, I have my +1 on the, or +1 done. No, +1 on the way, and roach speed on the way. And as we can see, he still doesn't have lair. He's making spines because he thinks that I'm going to be all-inning him here. And I'll just end up taking my third. There's no reason to all-in at this point. So similar economies, I'm just ahead in tech now, instead of like everything, basically. Kind of let him slightly back into the game, but I still do have a clear advantage. So I'm not sure if I know about this base quite yet, I do not. But again, I wouldn't really be doing much if I did even know about this base. All I'm really trying to do is secure my own third, and I'll end up wanting to drone up. I do go and check, I believe, right around now. And that Ling is going to see it. And so I do like a light little pressure. I realize like he doesn't have roach speed, right? And I don't know that for sure, but it's pretty clear that he doesn't. Like, he really can't afford lair tech stuff quite yet. Or at least at that timing. So I have roach speed and he doesn't. And I'm just doing this light pressure, picking off some lings, trying to force out roaches from him while I'm droning behind this. As you can see, I'm getting a huge advantage in economy right now. And I'm just being annoying with my roaches. And at this point, like, I've done the damage I want. I didn't really do anything. Like, straight up I didn't do anything. Picked off a spine crawler, a couple of lings. But I forced out units, which is exactly what I want. I have my +2 before him. I have pathogen glands done. 4 infestors in production. And my third is quite saturated. Not fully saturated, but it's doing pretty good. Whereas his drones are behind mine, so that's always a good situation. So to compensate for that, obviously, he's over-droning right now because he has an army advantage. Not the biggest deal in the world, because now I have even more of a tech advantage because I have infestors. I didn't know for sure that he was going roaches behind this, which is why I went infestors to begin with. I didn't know if he was going mutas or if he was going roaches when I actually threw this down and started the pathogen gland upgrade. Like, alternatively, if I did know he was going roaches, I could have went swarm host, and with that little army advantage that I had before repositioned here, and just constantly like been aggressive the entire game. This isn't the best map for swarm host because there's a lot of like avenues of attack that you can counterattack with, but it's not the worst either. Well, actually, it might be the worst. But in this situation, it wouldn't have been the worst idea, I guess. So now he's going to attack into me when I already have infestors out and he only has roaches. And I have a decent roach army supporting it. If we look at economies, I'm also ahead by 10 workers. So all in all, like the only thing that he has going for him is this roach army. If we look at units, like he probably has a slight roach advantage, as we can see. Like that's not that much when I have 6 infestors, as long as I get a good fungal. And I also have Hydrodon done. So, like he really wants to try to break me right now. But I get a huge fungal, and this game's gonna be over after this. That's a ton of roaches that aren't fighting. Like that's his entire roach advantage right there. And I also have Hydras behind doing their DPS, mass chain fungals, and like this is pretty obvious that I just won the game. Huge supply advantage. So this was like one of the worst situations I could have gotten in. The game should have been over like a lot sooner, but you still can find your little bits of an advantage from this build. Like there's almost no like real perfect defense unless they're doing the exact same thing, or they like try to wall off, maybe going gasless. If they go gasless, like 3 Evo Chambers and 2 Spine Crawlers and 2 Queens, that's like probably the hardest counter to it. But behind that, they don't have gas, so you can take a third base and just be super greedy behind it. But if they've started Lair, generally you have more gas for more Banelings. So as long as you do the correct things with your Banelings, detonate on his Banelings 2 for 2, and detonate on his Spine Crawler, your Lings should be able to clean up the rest. So that's pretty much my ZvZ build currently. It works pretty good. I encourage you guys to try it. Any like concerns that you have or questions, ask in the comments below. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think I'm going to be following this up with a Berserk vs. Protoss guide in the future. You guys can let me know if that's something you guys want to see or whatever. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.